Good afternoon. Welcome to Lehigh County Board of Directors meeting. Today is Monday, June 22nd, 2026. The meeting has been held in the hybrid fashion, either live in person or Zoom or the phone calls. The material for today's meeting was sent via email or mail to the Board of Directors and is posted. Lisa, will you please go to the roll call of the
You
board
bet. Roll
directors,
call
please?
of the board. Amir Famili.
Here.
Jeff Morgan.
Here.
Ted Lyons.
Here.
Linda Rosenfeld. Kevin Baker. Sean Ziller. Peter Dent.
Here.
Mila Amin.
Here.
Vijay Singh.
Yeah.
All right, we have 6 board members present, so we do have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you. Reviewing the agenda, any need for changing addition to agenda or the need for the executive sessions? Sorry, Lisa. I'm sorry, Lisa. We don't have.
Similar to what we did
Lisa, we have
2 weeks ago. 2 things: the under wastewater, the industrial pretreatment plant item. We don't have.
Lisa, I'm sorry.
Can you hear?
We did
Yeah,
not.
how about now?
We had a bad connection at the beginning, so could you repeat from the beginning for the record?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Much better.
Good. Okay, I'll leave my camera off if that helps. So we're going to remove the item related to the industrial pretreatment plant from the regular agenda, and there is an executive committee meeting that will be held after the close of this meeting.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep. Sorry about the noise or the.
That's okay.
Technology.
Next items is the approval of the minutes. Linda is not here and Sean is not here, the secretary and assistant secretary.
I'll make the motion to accept them.
Okay.
Having not read them.
I read them.
Oh, yeah. You don't have read them. So motion made by Peter.
Second.
And second by Ted. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. So minute approved. There is no committee reports, public comment, which is not on the agenda. Okay. We hear none from public comment, so we move on. I think the first items under finance and administration is water distribution, leak detection is on blue pages, digital board package, pages 6 to 8.
All right. So for this one, we're going to turn it over to Chris Mon, who's also online today, to talk about this project.
Thanks, Lisa. And thank you, everybody. I'm looking for approval to purchase additional leak detection hardware and associated hardware for our aqueous leak detection system. A little bit of background. The aqueous leak detection system has been in place at LCA for several years now. And reducing water loss through proactive leak detection has been identified by the senior staff level here as a high priority initiative, especially with the drought times that we're facing so far this year. We are currently at approximately 18% of a treated water loss throughout our system due to leakage, and generally accepted as, roughly that standard in the industry that we see currently throughout all of the United States. Much of that water loss occurs through small, undetected leaks that do not surface. They do not cause large problems in the street or in homes or anywhere else, that persist over longer periods of time. So using a combination of technologies such as the items we're talking about today, like acoustic sensors or system-wide data analysis, the internal staff is able to detect abnormalities and use this data to locate system leaks more quickly and efficiently. It allows us to better capture treated water, putting less of it into the ground, and in turn reduces chemical costs. It reduces energy used for production as well. The system we have is, you can see it's an AQS, but called an aqueous leak detection system, and it is supplied by Ferguson Waterworks. We've been partnered with them since early 2023 through a pilot phase and have later expanded over the last couple of years. Currently, we have 118 sensors in Allentown and 110 in the suburban division, and they cover about 4.5% of our system in suburban division and roughly 6.9 in the city of Allentown. The systems that we have already in place have resulted in the repair of dozens of leaks to date. So what I'm looking for approval is for $399,644.94 for the purchase of 225 hydrant-mounted devices, as well as 91 valve-mounted devices, and the associated equipment and services that come with that. Accounts will be split evenly between Allentown and the suburban division, and will expand the coverage of our leak detection system to 14% in suburban water and a total of 9% in the city of Allentown. The LCA team will install and configure the devices throughout both the divisions ourselves. We have gone through several trainings with Ferguson and the Aqueous team, and we are able to install, calibrate, and get them online as a group. So again, I'm looking for approval for $399,644.94 for the purchase of leak detection sensors and associated equipment. Happy to answer any questions.
Any question for the board member?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
But probably explained to me earlier at some point. How does this system work? Give us an example of
So primarily it works through acoustics. Ted, what it is it listens, these devices are placed on hydrants throughout a system and valves throughout our system, and they actually echolocate back and forth to each other. And over the course of 24 hours in the listening, it will find anomalies and spikes, similar to if you use an elephant ear to listen to a hydrant for a leak. So we'll actually hear the water leaking through the metal pipe. It sends a report every night at 2 a.m. to, we have 2 supervisors that monitor it daily. And through those daily reports and the acoustic results that we get, they can actually go into the application, and then a human can listen to that sound that the aqueous system thinks is a leak and do a verification. If we think we get a hit, we will spool up a team of 2 guys to go out with our hands-on leak detection equipment, which we then, we'll actually clip to the hydrant and clip to the nearest valve and do an acoustic listen ourselves.
So you listen when the water flow is the least, presumably at 2 in the morning. Is that correct?
Yeah, it works best after hours, to be honest with you, because throughout the day, these things are trained to not pick up, water flowing in a house or a toilet running at night. So 2 a.m. is generally when it gets its best results, uploads it to our cloud, and then lets us know if there's any issues we need to investigate further.
And how specific can you get? Is it just to like a block or to a street or?
About 10 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, really neat piece of software. And it actually plots itself on a map. So each one of these devices has a unique ID. So when we get a ping from one of the devices, it shows up on a map as a red dot. And we can send guys right to that red dot, and they will listen in the street to get a more specific location. I would argue my guys can get within 6 inches.
Any other
Hey, Chris,
questions?
quick question. Is this additional equipment or is this equipment that's going to be replacing things you previously bought?
It's an expansion, Jeff. It's additional equipment that we're adding. So, I mean, ideally with money not being an issue, the goal is to cover the whole system. But we're attacking parts of the system that we believe are more prone to leaks.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chris, if I look at the prior authorization, did we authorize some money for the first phase?
Yes.
So on your form, you have zero, you have nothing there.
It depends if there was a purchase greater than $200,000, Lisa, I think it would have come to the board. If not, it would have been paid for through operational funds. So, Amir, I apologize. I may have to look into that. This is just a substantially large purchase, which is why it's in front of you guys.
But regardless whether it costs $50 or 200,000 or whatever, more or less, I think this form should include all the costs, right? We said the $200,000 below, doesn't need to come to the board, but still is part of the cost, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Couple questions for you. So, can we quantify, I know it's a difficult question, but I need to ask that. Can we quantify how much water we have saved through this hole, right? So we spend X amount of dollars, so we fix so many leaks. Can we measure the saving? Let me explain why I'm asking this question. Because only for a couple percentage of this one, we spend the 200,000, let's say before, another 400 is 600,000. And if I just do a back of envelope calculation, if we want to move the leak detection systems and our system, which maybe makes sense, it's going to be, up $4, $5, $6 million, even more. I just want to see the return we are getting is worth the amount of money we're spending or not.
I guess there's two possible problems with that. Number one is we would never know how long the leak is there. So to calculate cost over time, we would need to know how long the leak has existed. We can accurately estimate how much a leak is leaking when we find it, but we wouldn't find it unless we had this equipment in place. So it's one of those endless loops.
No, I don't look at it that way, because the way I look at it is, I don't look at what happened in the past.
Well, we have to calculate lost revenue for it, right? I mean, if it's part of the calculation to see how much of the money we're getting back, we would need to know how much money we lost.
So so how do you know these fixes have helped you? I mean, these are sort of it's a good things to do, but it's a sort of the feeling. It is not a data driven. That is what I'm a struggle. I'm not arguing with the fact that these are right things to do. My point is, you have to look at the amount of money we're going to spend for the phase 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 do leak detections, and at the end we're going to spend $6 million. Is that the right place to spend $6 million or not?
So why you had a leak that's been going on for 30 years? You didn't know it.
Yes,
You'd have to know that, the value of that leak.
correct.
Yeah, that's his point.
Yes.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Actually, that's a sunk cost, so it should figure in your calculation. What should figure in the calculation is just your forward, expenses and revenues.
No, but the
So
alternative,
you have to assume that if without this equipment, the leak is not found, then going forward, how much would you lose over a certain period of time?
Yes.
Because what's in the past cannot be undone. I mean, you cannot bring that back.
well, it's the same side of this, same.
Yeah, but so what I'm saying is that actually in financial calculations, going forward from the cost benefit analysis, the past, what is lost, that's sunk. So you don't include that in the calculation at all. So Amir is absolutely correct.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
true. But if the alternative is you don't do it at all.
No,
You know,
what
you'll never know.
What you say is, what if this leak is not found for 1 year or 2 years without this equipment? then you know, you can do that under very.
Can a leak create other problems besides just the leak?
Yeah.
But that's not part of the
Can it?
calculation.
It is the
Yeah.
water that would otherwise be wasted going forward.
But a leak-
That needs to be.
Could a leak create other issues that could lead to further damage of the piping system?
Sure,
They
and if we
create
can estimate that,
sinkholes.
that's a wonderful thing. I mean, I don't know all the issues here, but from an economic benefits and cost perspective, it's only the future that needs to be estimated.
So not only would you have the loss of the water, you could also have the loss, perhaps there'd be some pipe damage as well,
Or you could have sinkholes.
or sinkholes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd have to calculate the value of a sinkhole.
If you think there will be a sinkhole, so you have to have some idea of how many times you get a sinkhole,
Yeah.
so there has to be some percentage estimate of that.
Right.
That's how this would work.
I think the whole message, Lisa, go ahead, since you have your hands up.
Yeah, thank you. It's a little awkward here, me being here from a hotel room. I apologize for that. I wanted to jump in and just say that another component of the equation, so to speak, is efficiency from our staff perspective. And I just have to bring up that we have a team of people who are out there doing manual leak detection on the system right now, and we have an obligation to the city of Allentown to survey 50% of the system every year. And so the more of the automated manual type process that we can get in place, the easier that is to do, the quicker we find the leaks, the faster we achieve the savings. It's not a perfect equation, and we certainly should do more work on calculating that. But there's a cost savings perspective from the standpoint of having guys in the field manually doing this work versus relying on a system. So
Our final goal is to have leak detection system for the entire pipeline in the Allentown and the suburban area.
I
Chris,
don't
can
think-
you?
Yeah, I
Go
don't
ahead.
think that's a possibility or a reality. You know, my statement was in a world where money didn't matter, I would love to have a fully automated leak detection system. But right now, all we're doing is focusing on areas that we know we have issues, where we send the guys more often than other parts of city in both suburban and the Allentown division.
We also have, I think, pretty good data. We just don't have it here for today. We have pretty good data on treatment costs and energy and revenue potential as well, for the 6+ million gallons of water we're losing every single day. So that's not insignificant either.
But the amount of water that, I mean, my point is, Lisa, that the amount of the water that you're losing, is that a what you call calculable amount or something that is a measurable amount?
It's a calculated amount based on how much water we treat and produce versus how much we sell to customers through a meter. So somewhere between the water plant and all of our well stations and suburban and the meters in people's homes and businesses, we're losing 18% of that water in the system through various leaks. And we think they're, like Chris was saying, they're likely a lot of small leaks because the large leaks surface and we find those.
And this technology is a proven technology in the market. Everybody use them.
Yes.
Hey, Jeff, do other systems use this technology?
Hold on. Yep, I'm here. I'm not too familiar with any other places that use this, but I kind of focus more on the wastewater world than the water world. But I was looking here while you were talking. I thought somewhere when I used to do a little more water work that the DRBC had a 10% target for water loss that you had to work toward as well. And so if we're at 18% in the system, we're above that goal. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, things we're doing to actively reduce that that loss, are somewhat regulatory driven as well, I believe, in addition to
You're
the cost. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you're right about that, Jeff. The DRBC's target of 10% would be something we would want to be shooting for. Typically, industry standard of 20% or less is considered okay or acceptable. So we're somewhere between good and acceptable, but we really need to be better than we are with it because of the loss of that much water and the cost of treating all that water that we're losing, and the growth in our system as well. Recaptured water is water that we could sell as we're growing.
Less capacity that we would need
Yeah, but
to add.
again, my challenge is that 80% is an average calculated number, right? And our goal is to go to 10%. How do we know that we really have reached to 10%? Because as you plug in these holes, at the size of a hole, the amount of water you lose, it's all has to come. It's a very difficult task, I do recognize that. But I'm just, it's a more of a perception rather than calculated numbers. That's my struggle.
What do you propose?
I don't have a proposal. I don't know. If I had a proposal, I would be a different place, but I'm just trying to see if there are, because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, even for the Act 537, that okay, how much I have we stopped, so we cannot calculate that. So it's my challenge, being a more of a data-driven person, that we do a lot of work, but there's no way we can measure, how much of that goal have we achieved.
Once these devices are installed, do we know if we are saving water from plugging those leaks? No.
Asia, what do you think?
Yeah, so a couple of things. We're about to engage with Pennsylvania DEP. They're going to come in and do a water audit for us. And the whole idea is to evaluate how are we doing with a lot of different aspects as it relates to water loss, getting to specifically what you're talking about, which is the investment in the leak detection equipment worth the savings you're going to get. So end of July, we have a meeting with the state. They come in with their experts. And we've been doing audits for years, so we have a lot of good data. They'll evaluate and they'll say, yeah, your numbers look good or your numbers don't look good. And we get into things like, are your main meters accurate? Are they actually measuring the amount of water you're actually producing? Are they calibrated? So because that's key. How much water are you actually producing? And then looking at our meters, how often do we calibrate them? How often do we check them? What kind of process are we using to check? And then, so then you look at, okay, what's your real loss? How much water are we actually losing through leakage? And it's a whole science, because there's water that is lost through leakage. There's water that's lost through, say, water that people are taking without paying for it. There's water that people are taking illegally. There's legal taking of what. There's like a whole kind of accounting of the water and the water loss. But the whole idea is that we come up with how much water we're losing, real losses through leakage, and what's the value of that dollar-wise, because we know how much it costs us to produce water. And then you say, okay, that's if we could eliminate, and we know, no one ever gets to 0%. You know how much is reasonable to get. If we could get this much in reduction, it would save us this much money. And then you compare that to how much money you want to spend on programs to fix it. So this program that Chris is recommending is one of the programs that is part of the solution. But anyway, the audit is intended to help us make good decisions related to the whole program. This leak part of it is just one part of it. There's other aspects that have to be looked at. So I think where we're headed is what you're looking for, is to be able to show that the investment is worth the payback. Like it doesn't make sense to spend all this money if we can't get, like, at the end of the day, it's how much money are we
It's like
getting?
IRS audits. At some point, it's not worth auditing people because the cost of auditing, you collect the money isn't worth the expense to collect it.
Right.
So
So,
it turns out that IRS audits are the best thing ever from a return perspective.
Right?
Yes.
so I think I think we're on the right track. We are planning as a team to do a water loss sort of program with all our departments to kind of really focus on this. So what Chris is proposing is one aspect of that. And the question about is this being used elsewhere? Chris and I attended a conference in Louisville last December, and this is like state of the art. People just like putting these devices on hydrants and valves is what people are doing, the better utility. So it's not a,
Amir makes a good point. I mean, to put it on the entire system, which would
yeah,
cost is it 6 million, where it's back of the envelope here, $6 million.
Yeah.
Of course, once it's there presumably for a long time.
right. But I mean, we're not gonna propose that. That makes sense. We're
I
not,
think it makes sense to put them where you think they're the most preventive, right?
which is what Chris's team has come up with these numbers.
I mean, with what I'm reading here, with this expansion, I think we are covering almost 11% of whatever the system. So it is significant enough that we should be able, through the meter and all that, be able to measure how much loss we have prevented. So if the next round of this leak detection comes up, I think you bet on anything that we're gonna be asking, okay, you're measuring, you have enough equipment for 11% of your system.
Yeah.
And 11% is not 1 or 2%, so you should be able, through your metering system, be able to detect something before you can go to the third phase of this leak detection system.
Hey, Amir, I just have a follow-up question for AJ. Again, I'm not familiar with this equipment, but are these things permanently installed, or can they be in an area for 2 years and then you could relocate it to a different area and do the monitoring needed there?
I can answer that if you want, AJ.
Go for it.
So they're not your typical lift and shift, Jeff,
Okay.
but because we do mount them internally, we've been trained to do it. If we have them in an area for a year and a half and don't see a whole lot of heat maps from it, we do have the internal ability to decide to say, all right, we're going to move these 13 over to the western side of the system or something. We have the ability to move them, but they are technically permanent mount.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Chris, just, our intent is not to be a pain here. Our intent is here that, we always talk about being a data-driven organization. So all this dialogue is about, for future project comes up that we can measure, we should measure. So allow us to be more effective and efficient on what we are doing. So please don't take that one in the wrong way. I was just trying to make a point on what we're trying to do. Okay, if there is any more question from board member, I'm sorry. Okay, if there's no more questions, we are asking the capital expenditure for the amount of $399,644.94 for the purchase of the additional leak detections hardware.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Peter.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Peter, second by Mina. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Chris, you got it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So the next item is monthly financial report, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
I'm going to have Phil do the honors of screen sharing for Ed and his presentation.
We're gonna talk about May and how we did in May.
okay.
By the way, before we go, can we recognize that Kevin Baker is online now?
We got it. Hi, Kevin.
So, for the month, Next slide, please. Income wise, we did have a loss on suburban water, and it was a little bit unfavorable to what we forecasted, which was a loss as well. Suburban wastewater, we ended up with positive net income against what we thought was going to be slightly negative. So we had a nice variance there of 129,000. City division at $1.3 million. We thought it was going to be 2.7, and it's off by $1.4 million, mostly on the revenue side for the month. So we were, I guess, a little bit too aggressive with our forecast, but.
And when something like that happens, a big bust, what causes that?
We take a look at all the elements on the statement, but in this particular case, it was mostly in operating revenues. And that would suggest there was just a volume decrease across our largest spaces, residential, commercial, and industrial, and that's what we found. So it's a combination of where we a little bit too aggressive on the forecast, and volumes did measure up to what we thought.
Why would volume decrease?
Right now, there's a lot of businesses trying to cut back. So I'm not sure that we gauged that all that well. So, but they are. So overall, we ended up with a positive net income, but slightly off on forecast, off by $1 million on forecast. Cash flow wise, suburban water was negative by $1.4 million. However, that was better than the cash flow that we thought we were going to report. Suburban wastewater was also negative, but better than what we had projected in terms of cash flow. And on the city side, at $2.4 million, they did better than the lost cash flow we thought for the month. So altogether, positive net income and a favorable variance of $5 million against forecast just for the month.
That's a huge, right? The variance.
Yes, that was a huge variance.
375 cash, and then
Yes,
that's just like multiples of the.
it is on a scale of comparison, yes, so slightly on the large side.
You guys worry when you see some huge variance?
I worry when I see large variances like that, only from are we looking at the forecast correctly? So I worry more about what are the assumptions we're making to get to that low number, so to speak, and that we're beating by a lot, because I really would love to see closer variances.
It's not a timing issue. We're pretty good at collecting the.
There are some timing issues, especially in the cash flow side. When you get into revenue collection, you know, you bill your revenue out based on the flow of the water, and then does it come in this month? Does it come in the next month? Does it lag on? So somewhat difficult to predict at times. But yeah, in answer to your question, I think that I could safely say in my mind that variances that are plus or minus large amount concern me, because there are many angles to look at. Year to date, we were on the unfavorable side in income and down to forecast. On suburban water, suburban wastewater, we had a loss of 186,000. We said it was going to be 137, so we were off about $50,000. City division, we're up on cash flow by $2.2 million. So altogether, a favorable variance on the total basis against the 12.5 million. Cash flow wise, suburban water 1.4 is 1.7 better than forecast. Suburban wastewater 200 and some $1,000 plus. We're up by 1.5, and city division $5 million, and we're up by 4.8. Next, this is where we are, where we think we're going to finish the year, a full year. So we think we're going to hit $3.5 million in income. That will push us up against budget by 1.1. Wastewater, we still think we'll be showing a loss, but it won't be as bad as what we had in the budget, so that'll be a favorable variance. And on the city side, almost $19 million, we said 15.5. So we're gonna be up by $3.5 million. Most of that is a carryover of project reimbursement from the city that you talk about timing difference. On cash flows, we said we would be negative for all three funds. But all three funds are gonna show some favorable variance by $999,000 on suburban water, $613 on wastewater, and $2.9 million on city division. So we'll show a cash flow loss and we budgeted cash flow loss. We think we'll do better than what we had in the budget.
So what's the major reason for such a difference between your income statement and your cash flow?
Big thing would be on the city side, there's a lot of, I'll call it, accretion, non-cash interest that gets booked and tends to lag or pull down income that you don't see in the cash flow. That's the biggest variance. And then it's, with some of the refinancings that we've done in suburban water and wastewater, it's kind of timing of interest payments.
But interest should show up in both places now.
Yes, it is, but we're doing the budget in August, and sometimes I haven't taken a drawdown yet, so interest expense gets a little bit dynamic as you move into the next year because of your loan balance changes.
That's just massive, right? You got 21.8
Yeah.
million and then
No,
38 million.
Yeah, and there is a lot of accretion from the bonds on the city side. There is non-cash interest related to bond refundings, et cetera, that create a big gap. If you look at the financial statements, I think for 2025, we said the interest was $21 million, but the actual cash paid out was 11.
What's non-cash interest?
Pardon?
What is non-cash interest?
It's basically, again, going back, changes in bond accretion, which pushes up interest expense. It's changes to the concession liability that's on the books as you change your net present value timeline. So basically, you're calling it interest expense because it's creating an expense, but you're not doing a cash disbursement. You already did that.
Way above my pay grade.
But so it showed up in the cash flow the previous period?
Actually, early in the concession agreement. Okay.
I would have thought something like this is just because of, say, capital expenditures or something, you
No.
know?
No, not all of it. Some of it is. Yeah, we're gonna go through what some of the particular categories look like. So this would be suburban water, income year to date, we're off by 336. This is now on a year to date basis. These are the variances, the categories. So revenues are up by 86,000. You're getting pulled down by operating expenses. Most of that was in personnel side, and pretty much we did some accounting true ups to sort of reallocate benefits and stuff like that more accurately than we had. It affected this fund more than the other ones. Non-operating is interest income. Oh, here comes that rate. And interest expense was favorable as well.
So when people, do we measure the people charging to the, so if there's a project, right, that is people from LCA work on that project, that cost for their contribution has to be capitalized.
That is correct.
Right. So are we religious enough that people are charging to the project to capitalize versus SG&A?
So as a matter of practice, yes, we take the charging of that very serious. And even as a part of the Munis implementation, et cetera, that we use, we try to do a really good job of saying if they put 20 hours on this project, if 20 hours from their pay went there. We also have to maneuver health insurance. We also have to maneuver a lot of
Full
other
cost, yeah.
categories around to accommodate all that. So, and every now and then we stop, do an audit and say, gotta make some adjustments.
Is it possible to show this as like cash flow variances from operations versus cash flow variances from financing, right? Because right now when you put them all in.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that we could recognize that in the cash flow year to date. Because I do put a column in there, cash flow from operations is up by 55,000, and most of that is as a result of, well, looking at the operating revenue above and then adjusting for the operating expenses. But debt service and financing is more favorable. And CapEx was lower. We didn't spend all that we thought we were gonna spend, and we got some more interest income on this side. So I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Yeah, it's fine, thanks. It's fine, it's all there.
Cool. So this would be full year, which I put up at the end. So this is showing some of the variances on the full year basis, $1.1 million. You see we're showing better operating revenue. At this point in time, we think we'll be fairly favorable to operating expenses, and better interest income and not as much in interest expense. On the cash flow side, but pretty much from the operations above, that's driving most of the variance. Some of the metrics. For debt service coverage ratio, we're at 1.47 right now. We budgeted 2.36, so we're below that. We target 1.2 also, we're better than the target, and based on the forecast, we should get up to 2.65, and that should put us above budget and target. Operating ratio, we're at 0.94. That is less than the budget of 1.16. It's also less than target of 1.0. However, as we move up through the year, we should get to 1.22. And that would beat our target and budget. Days cash on hand, we're at 237. We target 180, and it will come down a little bit to 203 at the end of the year, but that'll still be above our internal target. Suburban wastewater. So year to date, we're off unfavorable on income by 49,000. You can see that on the operating side fairly well, a favorable variance in operating revenues, favorable in operating expenses, so spending less, getting a little bit higher interest income, and we're losing some on interest expense side. Back up. Cash flows. Up from operations, 643 favorable across the board on the cash flow basis. Debt service is a little bit favorable, CapEx is lower, and interest income is higher. Yeah, good. Full year, we think we'll be up by $1.9 million. That will be an unfavorable variance on the operating revenue side, more than compensated for by lower operating expenses, higher interest income, and slightly brought down by higher interest expense. On the cash flow side, most of it is from operations and additional interest income.
Why is there additional interest income over?
I don't like to pump up the interest income, not knowing where the timing of some of the capital expenditures. So I try to maintain that forecast a little bit low and not have it make everything else look good. And on a forecast side, so what we're doing is staying conservative, and if we get the interest income, and right now we are.
Yeah.
So I let that play out, so. Okay. Debt service coverage ratio 3.70, which is good, versus 2.16. Obviously better than target, and it'll come down some by the end of the year, but still look good with respect to targets at 2.44. Operating ratio, we are above 1. We budgeted 0.9, so slightly above the budget target. Slightly, really slightly above the internal target, and it'll come down some by the end of the year, so we're not going to stay above the 1, but I think we'll be better than what we budgeted. Days cash on hand, 250, we'll say, 100 versus target of 180, and that will go up a little bit by the end of the year to about 263. City division, income up by $2.1 million. Again, slightly off in operating revenues, and we're getting more compensation from lower operating expenses. Again, higher interest income, and here's where the interest expense has been higher on the income side. Pull that down. Cash flows year to date, $4.9 million favorable variance, pretty much across the board. Cash from operations, 2.6, getting better debt, favorable on the debt service side, favorable on CapEx side, and again, favorable on the investment side.
And our top, Ed, I'm sorry, our target for cash, in hand for a number of days is for city versus suburban, they are different?
The target is still 180 days. Try to keep each fund at 180 days. When we budgeted suburban wastewater, we decided to let that fall below 180 because we have some invested balances that we said we could use if we needed to. The city is the same target. We're just doing better than that. I can remember a day when we were not. So.
Yeah, I go to point that Ted always makes that, we don't want to have too much cash.
No, and if we're sitting up there, we'll take a look at what we can do to invest. I have to be careful saying we can just do willy-nilly.
Sure.
Because the trustee gets to control most of what we do on the city side.
Explain that.
They follow the waterfall, so they have pretty much manage all the waterfall accounts as per the indenture, make sure they have reserves.
Waterfall, okay.
I'll call it waterfall is making sure that they have enough debt service reserves for all the outstanding debt, so bonds, et cetera, even the Fulton loan. So they feed that first, and then they keep us left, and that's ours. But they manage it more than I can. So I mean, if we were going to park some money, which we may have to, but we'll have to have a conversation with M&T. So.
And when we go to do our capital expenditures for the year, we finance that partially through issuing bonds. Is that correct? Time to time?
Sometimes.
And other times we borrow through the Pennsylvania Penvest.
Yes.
And we also use some money of our own.
In the case of the city, we end up using a lot more from the rate structure, the rate table, because we can.
So to finance the capital projects in general, most of the money comes from what? Penvest, did you say?
Financing, most of the money over the years has come through the bond route.
The bonds, issuing bonds.
Yes.
Now, we go to the bond market, bonds, I know nothing about this. Bonds are rated, correct?
Yes, AA.
We're a double A.
Yes. Yes, we're at many times when we go on the market, the prettiest girl at the dance.
So,
Double A is a very high favorable rating.
Yes,
And one thing, so you know, there's always a delicate balance. But one of the main things that the rating agency does look at is cash. Cash is king. So that's one of their evaluating. So it's not the entirety of their evaluation, but so that's always a balancing act to make sure that you have good cash reserves for operational purposes, also for financing. But as you point out many times, you don't want too much either.
well, we don't, I view it as a business, and if we're making too much money.
Yeah.
We're theoretically a nonprofit, right? We're making too much money, which we're not allowed to do. You know, we don't have shareholders, we're not, you know, and being from Allentown, I'm sensitive to that,
no, I understand that. It is, the thing that kind of tempers some of that, even on the city side, is there's still a lot of 537 work out there to do. And how much are we
Agreed, yeah.
need to spend as we move ahead in the timeline, so.
I hate to say you're too profitable, but.
What's the big reason for so much positive variance from cash from operations? It's like
So on the
2.7.
city side, there was a timing that we expected to get some project reimbursement from the city in 2025 that didn't come, that slid over into 2026. So that is pretty much the biggest variance that we're looking at right now, is that timing variance.
So typically you wouldn't have large operating variances like of this magnitude, right?
Yeah, that much cash from operations variances, again, unusual, even on the city side. The only, once in a while, the only time that it changes a little bit is based on cash flows, based on what's happening with respect to the quarterly billing, stuff like that. So every now and then I look out and see that revenue didn't come in as quickly as I thought it was. But this one is driven by the reimbursement of project stuff.
And why would Allentown be late in reimbursement?
Actually, it's probably more along the lines of we were late with execution on it. Okay, yeah. Full year, again, operating revenue is showing that variance that we talked about, so cash from operations is going up as well. We will have slightly higher operating expenses. We're capturing some of that back through higher interest income. And at the end, we think interest expense will be slightly better than what we budgeted. On the cash flow side, most of the variance is cash from operations and interest income. Metric wise, 3.09 debt service coverage ratio is good, 2.19 target, 1.20 internal target. It'll come down some, be about 2.38. Operating ratio, 2.6 versus 1.95. One target, and that'll settle down a little bit to 1.97, but still good. Here's with cash on hand, about 546 rounded, and it'll come down some unless we do something different. This is the scorecard that we look at that kind of just inputs certain conditions that exist on the suburban water side. We only had an 8. That's kind of a little bit lower, and that's because we had negative income and negative forecast. Debt service coverage ratio down a little bit to forecast. And again, some of the metrics that we talked about, operating ratio down a bit. So we've been higher in suburban water and mostly average maybe 10 to 14. So this is the first time I've seen 8 from that one. On the suburban wastewater side, we're at 12. And on the city side, well, the only thing that's up is operating revenue. Down is up operating revenues. So we're at 13, so. Suburban wastewater cities look really good. Suburban water, that's the first I've seen it. Our forecast doesn't suggest it'll stay there. Okay, so just kind of summarizing, we're still in good shape with respect to forecasted cash flow for all three funds. The metrics for suburban water, we talked about, went down a bit. Suburban wastewater and city are good. 1 month ago, and we'll start a Q3 forecast, and then we'll be starting to talk about the budget.
Thank you. Any question for Ed? Okay. Moving the next topic is the monthly safety report. Is digital pages 23 to 25.
So I get to do this for you too, so you hear me. Go down to the next slide if you don't mind. Just activity for May. We basically had 2 employee incidents. One of them was an employee experiencing a brief loss of consciousness after accidentally striking their knee against the vehicle dashboard. It ended up just being a first aid, no recordable. There's the corrective action on, and the second one was an employee sustained a right shoulder injury when a chain operated valve mechanically seized without warning. Again, that became just a first aid and not a recordable. The root causes related to tools and equipment, and there will be implementing the corrective summary. Now you can go back up to this. So only 2 incidents. So where are we at year to date is total incidents of 32. Employee related are 18, vehicles 14. We're now at 62 days since our last recordable injury, and it's going up every day. You can see some of the root causes there with respect to the employee incidents and et cetera. Situational awareness, 61%. We do have some incidents related to tools and equipment, PP&E, and ergonomics that we're working on, and some training issues as well. On the severity classification, we're recordable of 8, first aid of 8, and 1 is still to be determined based on what's happening with the employee's follow-up business. So in terms of incident by body parts, we see most of them. You're in the arm area, and then 3 no injuries, 1 whole body. We're still working on corrective actions. There's a lot going on, and there's the incidents by month. So we had 7 in January, 5 in February, and keep in mind that was when we were going through a pretty rough time with winter and ice, and quite frankly, we've recognized that when we get into winter next year, we got to do a whole lot more better in preparation for what's coming up. But I could say the numbers have gotten better as we moved along since February into March, April, and May. So good with that. Question?
No, this is, I really like the, the dashboard for this, and particularly with the root cause there to really help you identify where you need to focus your efforts to reduce the incidents and everything. And I think I would suggest that you might want to think about is severity classifications, adding reportable, because eventually you're going to go to OSHA reportable, and from an OSHA reportable is a real bad thing, and we want to have that as a goose egg, and be nice to see goose eggs there month after month. And reportable is loss of a amputation, loss of an eye, or death. And
which thank God we have had.
Why not? But I'd like to, it'd be nice to see goose eggs there month by month, but and it also would be kind of consistent with where where the organization is headed as we synchronize, as we combine our standards with OSHA safety standards.
That's coming down the road.
So get it ready.
Yep, gotcha. Anything else?
Thank you. Moving to next item is the monthly system operation is a digital package, page 26 to 29.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
And
Yes.
yes.
All right, so we are going to cover the May 2026 operations report. We will start off with water production. In Allentown, we were at 23.31 MGD. You will also notice Shant Spring a tad bit lower than sort of what we're used to. Same with Crystal. Mainly due to the drought, we are seeing production on the springs a little bit less than what we are used to. And as we move down to the Central Division, we were at 12.11 MGD, and that is an uptick from the average for the year so far. As we move into June and July and the summer months here, we are really expecting the water production to go up, as it's really our main production time of the year. Moving on down to Klein's Island, we were averaging 30.88 MGD, which is quite a bit lower than we're used to. And once again, the main reason for that is precipitation. We're really lacking a lot of rain. I guess it's raining there right now, but we got 2.19 inches in May. If you look at the 2026 total, we're only at 14.66 inches for the year. That is quite a bit lower than what we would expect by this time of the year. And really, that is a continuation of the 2025 numbers as well. We were short on precipitation last year, and that trend is continuing. So we are still in a drought watch period here. From a source standpoint, our groundwater monitoring locations are a lot lower than normal, but more significantly is the Little Lehigh Creek is much lower than what we're used to at this time of the year. So we are continuing to monitor that situation and trying to work with some of the industries to try to get their demands down a little bit if they're able to. Same with the general public. We are still asking for a voluntary reduction in water use. As we move down to the bottom part, we did receive one notice of violation. That was issued back on May 20th, and that was in regards to a PFOS MCL exceedance in the Emmaus consecutive division. As a reminder, we have been receiving these NOVs on somewhat of a quarterly basis from the DEP. We do purchase all of the water from Emmaus, and I guess I have some good news that I believe they are right in the time period of when they will actually be turning the system online. So we are expecting our monitoring numbers to go down. So hopefully we are no longer exceeding the Pennsylvania PFOS or PFOA. We also had one SSO that happened on Cedar Crest Boulevard, and it was due to a blockage caused by grease and a beach towel. As we move over to the second page, first we had two exceedances at Arcadia. One of them was a ammonia exceedance, and the cause of that was, if you recall, I guess it was last year, we started a project for installing two new screens on the SBR tanks at Arcadia. That project is just wrapping up. However, we were running on a single SBR for quite some time as they installed the screens on one of the tanks. So we were just getting back into dual operation. But with that being said, we didn't quite have the biomass built up in enough time to actually nitrify. So we were really close, not expecting to have another exceedance because the project is now basically complete. And as we move down to Sand Spring. We did have 3 more exceedances at Sand Spring as well. 2 of those were ammonia, and 1 was total nitrogen. I believe the last time that I gave the report, I spoke about a quaternary ammonia issue that we were noticing coming into the facility and stopping nitrification. So we have actually had a lot of success of tracking that source down. So we did find the source back in May. We were able to eliminate the source by working with the business. So they did switch their cleaning products. We are continuing to monitor the influent of the facility to verify that we have eliminated the source, but we have not received those results yet. But I am happy to say that the plant is now nitrifying. Over the past week and a half, it has really upticked as far as activity on the nitrification end. I'm not 100% positive if we're going to be in compliance for June because of the shaky start to the beginning of the month. But I truly do believe that we found, eliminated the source, and we're on the right track now. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any question for Andrew?
Just want to point with that Sand Spring with that, the quaternary ammonium, in addition to some of the nitrogen issues. When you get that quat stuff, that's really gummy and it'll really stop up things. It's, in fact, if you're a guy who is at a urinal sometimes and stepping and it's kind of squishy, it's often a buildup of the quats, but I've got quats direct. It's worse than Vaseline. So
Yeah.
just keep in mind that, that.
No, that is an interesting comment because the office that we found it at, they actually only have their cleaning company come in once a week, and they would come in over the weekend. So they would come in Saturday or Sunday, do their full cleaning of the dentist office, and then dump the product down the drain. And we were monitoring the trap at that location, and we would collect a sample on, Wednesday or Thursday, several days after the cleaning product was actually used, and we were still getting extremely high hits that late in the week when the product hasn't been used in several days. So it was definitely a learning experience for a lot of the employees, and I think we did a pretty good job at as far as tracking and finding it. It was not at a location that we were really expecting off the bat, so that was another surprise. But I'm really hoping that we got it this time.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Okay, I think those are the items on the agenda. Any staff comments?
I have nothing additional today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Mhm.
Solicitor comments?
No comments, thank you. Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
sir. Any public comment?
No, thank you, Amir.
Any board member comment?
Yeah, I have a comment. It's just a general comment. I was watching an interview the other day by I forget who was interviewing who, but who was a guy named Ken Griffith, who runs a large hedge fund called I forget the name of it now. He's worth $50 billion, and and he made the comment that if he was having this interview 9 months ago, he'd have a comment about AI. And he's totally changed his view of AI in the 9 months. And the drift of it was that AI is really making impacts in his organization farther up the food chain than he ever thought. And this is a pretty smart guy who's data driven and measures all kinds of stuff. And I'm not suggesting that we have a simple application here, but just a comment that again, we're a small business and it's difficult for us to go chasing some stuff, but something to keep in mind that is there stuff happening out there that any organization should be thinking about in terms of implementation, some of this stuff. Again, I'm an old guy, I don't understand most of it, but I do understand this guy, and he's a pretty smart guy. And when he makes a comment like that, it's
What's that, a lot of opinions on both sides, right? One
I know
side
there is, yes.
Oh my God. Another side is like, there's nothing much,
Well, when this guy makes an opinion,
Well, yeah, but just, he is very rich, but I mean, I suppose in hedge fund, they do use fair amount of different modeling and technologies. That doesn't,
I'm not suggesting
that doesn't mean that whatever little AI he's using, whether it's good or not, is necessarily,
Good comment.
in all areas. There's a really good article in the New York Times by Robert Schiller, who was a professor at MIT, I think. And he says, don't even worry about it.
I read the article. Yeah. He should have dinner with.
I actually
Griffin.
listened, he came once to my university and gave a talk. Anyway, there's lots of stuff.
A lot of the conferences that the team are going, I think there are consulting people
sure
that
there are,
they
yeah.
are talking about implementation of AI, how it works or not. I think it's something that we really have to keep an eye, see what other people are doing and try to bring the best practice to us. Because
Absolutely.
at the organization size that we are, we gotta wait the other people to drive.
I think one way to think of it is back in the nineties when this whole thing about the internet growth and it's like, oh my God. And we did get there, but it took like 20 years more than we thought. Right? I mean, just think about, the old engines that are gone now, so okay, and then everyone was talking B2B, B2C, C2B, God knows what, and it just took a very long time for things to and compared to AI or whatever AI can or cannot do, that was fairly simple stuff, right? And even that took a very long time to get incorporated.
Some stuff ain't gonna take a long time, like radiology and some other medical practices are gonna be changed. Radically.
Yeah, but those are things that are repeatable and very memory based and, China's been using AI for decades for face recognition technology, right? They got probably 1.4 billion people and probably 600 million cameras.
That's true. That's true. Lisa, I'm sorry, your hands up. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just going to respond to Ted's comments and listening to this conversation. Amir, you're 100% right. This conference that we're at right now, some of us are in Washington, D.C. for the American Waterworks Association annual conference. The opening session this morning was very heavily focused on technology and the advances in AI and what some of the larger utilities are doing to leverage the new technology that's available. And then, of course, some of the concerns or, how you manage the risk associated with using AI. So it's a conversation that's going to be happening quite a bit over the next 3 days here at this conference. And certainly within the walls of LCA, we are talking about it and managing that risk in a planned way.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Just one, I'm sorry, any other board
That's all I
comment?
have.
Just one comment from me. I think about maybe 5 months ago, Jeff and myself conducted a survey that we sent to people regarding how we can make the board more efficient or more effective. And one of the feedback that we received from the entire board, this is before Minal and Vijay were on board, obviously, was the formation of the finance committee to really help on the efficiency of the budgeting and also to better represent our financing at the board. So I think it is about time we're having full board in place is to form that finance committee. I have asked Vijay and he's graciously agreed to lead the finance committee. And also Kevin and Ted, both of you have agreed, if I'm not mistaken. With the thumbs up, to help, obviously, Ed is part of the team to look at, this is the good time to start a finance committee because we go into our budgeting cycle. They can look at, how we go to budgeting and hopefully with the experience that we have with Ted, Jeff, and Kevin, and obviously Vijay with his academic and industrial experience to improve our budgeting the way we go about. So thank you for all three of you for agreeing to serve. And I'll leave it to you guys, Ed and VJ and the teams to set up your meetings and move on with it. So I appreciate that. So
If I could, with the, from the governance committee standpoint, get started and then, get working, and then we do want to have we did put together a draft for you to consider of what is the scope and the charter for the committee. And once you kind of get, get to work and figure some things out, we'll want to see that probably delivered to the governance committee. Will then, review and then for full board.
Then bring it directly to the board.
Or to the board.
Yeah, I mean, it's not part of a governance.
All right.
Governance is something, there's two different committees.
But from a governance standpoint, the charter should be done.
Yeah, they do the charter, yes.
Oh, you need a charter, otherwise
Yes.
you won't know what you're doing.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes. Yep. So thank you again. Let's see, it is 1:16. You guys want to take a 9 minutes break at 1:25? We get together for our executive meeting? Okay, the meeting adjourned. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.